Okay, Silver Creek, here we're back with The Boys Start the War. And we're on chapter 3, Ghost. Okay, we left off yesterday and Caroline, the girls had just dumped Caroline into the river with the boys watching. So let's see what happens next. Oh my gosh, did you see that? Wally crouched on the balcony beside his brothers and stared. At first it seemed as though the two older girls were dragging a sack of garbage. And then he saw that it was the girl's younger sister. Dead. I mean, obviously dead. Wally looked wordlessly at Jake, his mouth hanging open. They had only thrown a few dead fish and squirrels and possums into the river. But the new folks were throwing in bodies. People. The boys couldn't hear across the river, of course, but they had studied the small girl lying there on the sheet, and she hadn't moved a finger, not a toe. And the sisters were crying like crazy. And then, like a burial at sea, they dumped her into the river. I don't believe it, said Jake hoarsely. In the river, said Josh. They sat with their eyes glued to the spot on the water where the body had disappeared. The body sank way down and did not come up again, and the two sisters were walking slowly back up the hill towards the house, arms around each other with their heads down. Oh my gosh, they must have weighted her down with stones, said Jake. Wally's throat was so dry he could hardly let the words out. What do you suppose she died of? The answer at the back of his mind was too awful to say aloud. It was probably the water. I mean, but the water wasn't polluted, right? We were just messing around, said Jake. Anyone with a grain of sense wouldn't drink that water or swim in a river with dead animals along the bank, said Josh. But what if she didn't know? Wally wondered. Oh, what if she hadn't seen the dead animals? What if she'd gone swimming one day farther down and the germs had just been carried along down the current? Maybe one of those dead squirrels had a disease, he finally suggested. Oh man. Josh rested his head in his hands. Mom is gonna find out and she's gonna have a fit. Okay guys, well we don't know that the dead fish and stuff like that killed her, so we're not gonna tell anyone right now, okay? Said Jake. And he looked around the others. Okay, got it guys? I mean it, not a word to anyone. We can't even tell Mom that a girl died, said Peter. No, nothing. We're gonna wait to hear it from someone else. You got it guys? Wally glanced over at Josh. He brought along a sketchbook because he liked to draw what houses and trees look like from above. Josh drew things in his sketchbook that most guys never thought of drawing, but the page in front of him was now blank. And Wally was glad. He didn't want any evidence of what they had seen from the roof. If the girl had died because of what the boys had tossed on the banks of the river, then Wally himself was a murderer because it had been his idea in the first place. Oh, he took a deep breath as he and his brothers climbed back inside. The boys were sitting soberly around the kitchen table, wondering who would find the body first when their mother came through the back door. Good grief! Is this how you guys are going to spend the last few days of summer vacation? Just moping around? She laid her car keys on the counter and opened the refrigerator. She had just 30 minutes to eat lunch and get back to her job at the hardware store. Oh, no, said Josh. We've been really busy. We're just taking a break. Busy doing what? Mother asked. Wally saw Jake give Peter a warning look. Just messing around, said Jake. As she passed out the sandwiches, Mother added, I would have thought you'd be across the river by now getting to know the new family. Fat chance, said Josh. They're all a bunch of girls. Oh, really? Mother looked around the table. Somehow I thought I had the idea they were boys. Yeah, so did we, said Jake. How many girls are there? 2 now, said Peter. There's 3. Yeah, because I counted. There's 3 girls total. Mother stared at Peter curiously. Well, at least they have children, she said, chewing her sandwich. It could have been worse. It could have been a family without any kids at all. I'd go over there and make friends with them if I were you. Oh, we will, said Jake, when the Mississippi wears rubber pants to keep its bottoms dry. Josh laughed a little, and so did Mother, but Wally found it hard to smile at anything right now. I mean, could you go to jail for planning a murder even if you didn't know anyone was going to die? After Mother went back to work, the boys walked down to the river and followed it as far as they could down to the bridge. But the children couldn't see a trace of a body. Nope, not bobbing around on the surface, not floating just beneath it. It wasn't caught in the roots of a tree or snagged on the branches that sometimes clogged the channel. The muddy water of the Buckman River moved lazily on, gracefully parting to make way for a rock here and there, then coming together again in its slow meander around the bend and under the bridge. When Father came home from work, Wally and his brothers were waiting for him on the steps. Mr. Hatford was a mailman in Buckman, and the boys knew that if anybody died anywhere at all in town, their father was one of the first people to know about it. "Hi, Dad," said Josh, as Father came up the steps. Mr. Hatford's shirt was damp, and he mopped his face with a small towel as he carried over his shoulder in the hot weather. The first thing he usually did when he got home was shower, but today he could scarcely make it into the house because the boys were blocking the stairs. How are y'all doing? He said, maneuvering around them to go inside. The boys all got up and followed him in. "Anything exciting happen today, Dad, at work?" Jake inquired. "Well, I told Miss Blake I wouldn't deliver her mail unless she kept her dog in the house. That happened," Father said. "I almost got my pants torn off by that beast of hers." Other than that, nope, that's about it." "Did anybody die?" asked Peter. Wally reached over and punched his arm, but it was too late. Said Dad. "Not that I know of. Why? Did I miss something?" "Oh, I guess we're just getting bored, Dad," said Jake. "I mean, nothing exciting ever happens around here." "Well, you could always go check out that new family across the river," said Father. "Mr. Malloy is the new football coach at the college, I hear. And they've got 3 daughters about your ages." Did you meet them?" said Josh. "No, but I will before too long. You want me to say something for y'all?" No! Screamed the boys all together. Father smiled a little and as he took off his shirt. Okay. We'll just let things develop and see what happens," said Dad. What happens, Wally thought, is someone's going to find the body and someone's going to ask a question and someone, namely Wally himself, was going to jail. All because of 2 words. 2 words. Dead fish. He swallowed, but it didn't get rid of the rock at the pit of his stomach. On the last 2 days before school started, it seemed to Wally that he and his brothers were up on the windows walk every waking moment, watching the new family through Mother's field glasses. He knew their name now. Mallory. Oh no, Malloy. Sometimes Mr. and Mrs. Malloy came out to empty the trash. Sometimes Mr. Malloy drove off in his car. Once in a while, Jake or Josh would catch a glimpse of the 2 older sisters, but the younger one was nowhere in sight. "Hey guys, do you suppose maybe she's not dead?" asked Wally, hopefully. Maybe they only thought she was dead, but the water revived her, and then she swam back to the bank. "Yeah, but if that's true, why haven't we seen her around?" said Jake. "I mean, why do we see the other 2 girls all over the place, but never see her?" "Well," said Peter, "maybe she got sick from being in the cold water." "Nope," said Josh. "She's dead all right." He had drawn a picture of what the youngest Malloy girl would look like after being dead in the river for several days. Wally wished he hadn't drawn it, but Peter studied the picture with wide eyes. If the Bensons were still here, Wally thought, they would have helped look for the body. They would have had some good ideas about where it could be. Then he remembered, wait a minute, if the Bensons were here, the Malloys wouldn't be. What would he be doing if the Bensons were back? Well, he decided he and Bill Benson would probably have figured out by now what made the rows of little holes in the trunk in the pear tree. Sapsuckers, he thought. But his friend had said bees. They had even been going to camp out all night and take turns watching just to find out what it was. Now they never know. Now there were just girls to watch instead. Wally spent most of his time lying in the grass behind the house staring up at the sky, with Peter laying beside him. "Hey, do you see that spider web, Wally?" asked Peter. pointing to the thin strands of silver spun between a forsythia bush and a lilac. Do you suppose the spider spins the cross ones first or the down ones? Wally often wondered at that himself. I think that the spider sort of goes across and down at the same time. Like it just drifts down hanging by a thread. It's pretty clever when you... And if the thread breaks, splat, screamed Peter, delightedly whapping one hand on the ground. Wally sighed. Usually there was at least some excitement connected with going back to school in the fall. This year, Mother had bought them all new t-shirts and jeans, and Wally and Peter had picked out new sneakers as well. But the boys hadn't put paper in their notebooks yet. They hadn't even sharpened their pencils. The big question among the boys was what they would say to the girls when the 2 remaining Malloy sisters walked across the bridge the next day on their way to school. Mother didn't come home for lunch, so Jake made beans and franks. Hey, why don't we watch from an upstairs window tomorrow, and when we see them start across the bridge, we'll time it so that we get out to the road when they do. I just want to hear what they have to say about their sister. But what if they don't say anything? Wally asked. We don't even know their names. We can't just say, hey, so-and-so, what's her name? Well, we could say, how's the sister we saw rolled up in a bedsheet, said Peter. Josh shot him a disgusted glance, and Peter went back to lining the beans up in rows on his plate, and then stabbing them 3 at a time with his fork. The following morning, Jake and Josh crouched at an upstairs window watching the bridge. Peter, with his new lunchbox, waited below. Wally, however, was still dressing. As he put on his new sneakers, he realized that the threads were so deep he could probably roll up a tiny piece of paper and stick it into the groove without it falling out. If he ever had to carry a secret somewhere and there was any danger of being searched, he could always wear his new pair of sneakers and, "Hey guys, they're coming, yelled Josh. Like a whirlwind, the twins rushed downstairs where Peter was waiting. With Wally bringing up the rear, they all walked outside. The 2 older Malloy sisters, wearing jeans and long shirts down to their knees, were walking arm in arm across the swinging bridge, leaning on each other with their heads together, like 2 girls who had more sadness than they could possibly bear, Wally thought. As they came closer, the Hapgood brothers pretended to be looking down the road at the sky, anywhere in fact, except for at the Malloy girls. Ask 'em, Jake whispered to Josh. No, you ask, said Josh. You always try to make me do everything. Wally, you do it, said Jake. Why me? What am I supposed to say? Said Wally. The girls had reached the middle of the narrow bridge now, and still, walking side by side, held on to the cable rails as the bridge bounced slightly beneath their weight. If one of us doesn't ask, Peter will, said Josh, and he'll say something dumb, like, have you buried anyone lately? I will not, snapped Peter. Wally didn't know what to say, but he knew that someone had to say something. So he stepped up out in front of his brothers and started towards the bridge. But suddenly, there was nothing at all to say, because as he stared, the 2 older Malloy girls stepped off the end of the bridge, and the 3rd Malloy sister popped out from behind them. She came right down the path to the very spot where Wally was standing. She had never been dead at all. Or she was the first ghost in the history of Buckman, and there she was now, in front of his very eyes. All right, chapter 4, conversation. I guess they're finally going to meet and talk to each other. I can't wait to hear what they have to say to each other after all this. Okay, I'm going to be reading over the holiday too, so you'll have a chapter each day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I will keep you posted on what happens with these crazy kids. I love each and every one of you. Mwah.